At what age and what got you into music, basically?
Oh, I remember being a little kid and listening to people play, guitars in particular caught my fancy from being very young, and it just kind of stuck with me. I took up trumpet in the 4th grade, 5th grade junior high band, and then the Beatles came along and everybody was playing guitars, and that's when I switched over to guitar. It was a much cooler instrument. Not to put down trumpet players, but
sure. At what point did Hendrix come along with all that?
Not too long after I'd started playing. I started playing guitar when I was 13, and then his first album came out. I probably heard that when I was 14. I heard Purple Haze, and then the whole first Are You Experienced album. I can remember putting on one of those old-fashioned record players that would just play over and over, and just going to sleep with side one playing. It'd play to the end and then repeat over. It was a big impact.
So it's ingrained.
Yes. And when I first heard Red House, I'd already, I heard that came out later in the U.S. It didn't get released on the initial Are You Experienced album, and I'd already gotten turned on to the blues through some other English guys, and searched back and found the American blues artists, the Kings and everything. And then when I heard Red House, all of a sudden this was cool because this was psychedelic blues. This was blues with a little more attitude, and that really started putting it all together for me too. The sound I was enjoying, or that I wanted to hear.
Yeah. The night of the show, or just in general, I guess you said Red House is the song that stands out the most. So that probably pulls over to the night of the show. Is that the song that you kind of like?
Well, yeah, I love that. Of course, Little Wing has always been. I love that song. That's always been an important one. And Hey Joe, kind of a signature tune. I've been doing probably that longer than any of the other songs on a regular basis in different bands. That's a pretty important one to me. Of course, they're all wonderful. And then the song Stratostrut that I'd just gotten from the Red House tour. That stopped in Fayetteville at the Bikes Blues barbecue thing. I went in there and bought this, it was a rehearsal tape of just him sitting around at home in different situations rehearsing with the band, and there was this song, the Stratostrut, which I don't guess it had ever been released other than that, so I think we're probably the first band to cover it and put it on a release. It's pretty exciting.
Oh, that is cool.
I've been playing actually out live for 32, 33 years.
Wow. What's it like? What do you get out of being out there playing?
I don't know. It's just something I can't see not doing. I almost have to do it. I still enjoy it after all these years, and so it's even on a bad night, it's more fun than not doing it.
Sure.
On the best nights, you actually kind of go outside of yourself, and it's almost like you're an audience member. Everything's just flowing out of you, and you're not thinking about it. You're not consciously saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And those nights don't happen all the time, but they make all the other nights worth it when you get one of those. I was really happy with the night of the Hendrix tribute because we didn't play it safe. We weren't like, okay, we're recording, we're going to stay in these confines and make sure everything comes out good. We just let it go. And I think that made for some magic moments. Made for a couple of chaotic moments too, but that's all part of it.
Do you feel like on this project that you and the band offered up something that perhaps could be considered your interpretation of his music and not just, rehashing it?
Yes, it's our interpretation and everyone in the band's interpretation. I've never been a big note for note trying to copy something guy, and I don't think that would be really a fitting tribute to. I think taking the music and filtering it with your own influences, and there are a lot of different guitar influences I've had. Jimi, of course, was the main number one, but there's Roy Buchanan. You hear him on the beginning of my solo in Red House. There's even an Albert Collins lick. It slips its way in there. And so this is not to say we were trying to do his stuff. I wasn't trying to play exactly like him, and it's not to try to say we could do it better than him, just doing it our own way, with our own voice, Equipment-wise, I don't use exactly. I use a Stratocaster, which Jimi used, but I use Fender amps instead of Marshall amps. I wanted to retain my own identity and offer this up, and as the band also, offer this up as a tribute to Jimi, not as but a copy, you know, not something to be compared in that way, but just as a tribute out of love for the music.
It's about songs standing out.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ask me about the Jimi Hendrix ring I have on?
The Jimi Hendrix ring I have on. Let me see if I can get that.
Gary, I've heard that you have the definitive collection of guitar paraphernalia and also Jimi Hendrix stuff. Maybe tell us about some of the stuff and maybe some of the stuff you're wearing.
Well, I happen to have on the Jimi Hendrix.
Hold on a second.
Okay, you need that.
The Jimi Hendrix cameo ring. His picture's in there, a little portrait of him. I've got some interesting things. I have a Jimi Hendrix lamp, a Jimi Hendrix trash can. I've got Jimi Hendrix air freshener, Jimi Hendrix incense, Jimi Hendrix underwear, Jimi Hendrix outerwear.
How many Jimi Hendrix T-shirts do you have?
At last count, I have just under 100 different Hendrix shirts, T-shirts that is, not counting the club shirts. And,
So it'd be safe to say you probably have one of the definitive Hendrix T-shirt collections.
I believe so, although I did see a Carlos Santana video where he had one that I don't have, and I'm going to talk to him about that.
Well, hopefully he'll get a chance to see this, and maybe you guys will get that.
Yeah, maybe he'll send it to me. Yeah.